Hi again then guys, and welcome to another installment of the Beards and Cars podcast. Now for this particular installment, I'm not releasing this one as an audio-only episode. Of course you can still follow the SoundCloud link down below to see the other episodes, but this one is more of a housekeeping and an update episode, because some of you may have noticed over the past few days that the channel has changed. There's been a lack of videos, in fact. And any of you who are on the Discord chat, who keep up with the current conversations, will already know why this is the case. But for those of you who aren't, well, of course I would suggest that you follow the Discord chat. But also for the rest of you, it's pretty important, I think, to know why the channel is different and why it's still going to be different going forward. So this basically starts years ago. This channel has never really brought in the individual video views that it should. And a lot of people, well, I say a lot of people, you'll occasionally get someone who puts a comment saying like, oh, you've got this 30k channel, this 40k channel, this whatever k channel that doesn't get that many views on every video. Now, of course, the vast majority of those people don't have a clue what they're talking about, because PewDiePie has 106 million subscribers and gets, what, 10 million views on every video? So that's not exactly a high percentage. The only reason why it's okay is because that's still multiple millions of views. So he's doing just fine. That kind of ratio is still not impressive, though. That's like, what, a 10% ratio? Something like that? Less, in fact. Now, for my channel, to get 10% views is much more significant in a bad way. Because obviously 10% of 60,000 is quite different to 10% of 106 million. Now, I've always been aware of that. I've never expected my videos to get 60,000 views each, because of course that's just not realistic. No channel can maintain that kind of view count purely from their own subscribers. Any channel who does get views like that on a consistent basis is because they're being pushed by the platform that is YouTube. And of course, that in itself is something of a conspiracy, one which, as I'm going to get into in this video, YouTube themselves would try to claim is not in place. I call total BS on that for a number of reasons, and I'm going to get into why in this video. Now, I'm not doing a full-on expose of YouTube or something in this video, even though I do have, I believe, more than enough evidence to get something like that started, but it started a few days ago when I released my on-the-road review, a Beards and Cars, road test review of an Aston Martin Vanquish S. A stunning car. It's the fastest car I've reviewed so far in real life, in terms of top speed at least, and one of the most expensive as well. Certainly one of the coolest cars. That video barely has 600 or 700 views at the time of releasing this. So basically what YouTube is essentially expecting me to believe is that out of 62,000 people who decided to follow this channel, almost all of whom decided to do so because of car content, only 600 or 700 of those people are interested in a 200-mile-an-hour real-world review of a stunning Aston Martin. Is that really what YouTube expects me to believe? Well, let's just say that were the case. Apart from the fact that logically that makes no sense, because why would somebody be following a car channel if they're not interested in a car like that, because it's just a cool car in general? But it's not just that video, it's consistent. In fact, apart from some rare exceptions, because don't get me wrong, I do have a number of videos with 6-figure views, and even one video with over 1 million views, but that's not my average. And the reason why that never bothered me as much is because of the sheer volume of videos that I have. And this is something which I've talked about way back in the past. See, with the channel that's the size of mine, in terms of the amount of content that I've produced, way in excess of 4,500 videos, probably close to 5,000 at this point, I don't need every video to go viral. Even if every video brings in a couple of views a day, that's still thousands of views, and that's exactly the way it works on the channel. I have so many videos bringing in so many views that my daily count is still like 30 to 50,000 views a day. And for me, I'm more than happy with that, or at least I was. Now, there are a few factors in play. Of course, the pandemic means that ads aren't being taken out, money isn't being earned, I'm earning no way near the kind of money that I was a few months ago on the channel, and that's, of course, a different discussion for a different time. The issue comes in, though, because YouTube, and again, I have specific email evidence of this in correspondence, YouTube has basically tried to tell me that my average views from a year ago to now haven't really changed that much, so I shouldn't view it as a negative thing because I'm still doing well. Now, it doesn't take a genius in math to see a problem with that statement, because a year ago I had how many subscribers? Maybe 30, 40,000? Now I have 62,000. So YouTube, in other words, is telling me, well, you don't need to worry, because despite the fact that you've got 20,000 more people on the channel, you're still getting the same average views, so you should keep your chin up. No, morons, that means that that's a drop in views, because if the subscribers are going up but the views are staying the same, that is not an improvement. Again, all of these things that I'm bringing up could be entire episodes in their own right because of the utter BS that YouTube comes out with, and the thing is they talk to you in such a way that they're barely even human. It's like you're just talking to a machine half the time. The responses they put out are clearly just doctored by those in charge. And this brings me to one of the things that caused me to start talking to them in the first place. See, I had this little theory. I've seen channels who are half the size of mine getting that amount of subscriber numbers on their daily videos. Now, I'm not saying that every single subscriber they have watches every single video, because as I said, it doesn't work that way, but they're clearly having a very high interaction rate. Now, I've always been aware that because I cater to so many different audiences, which has always been one of the things I've loved to do, Gran Turismo, Forza, real cars, podcasts, competitions, product reviews, motorcycles, of course I don't expect to get the same views on everything. That's just not the way it works. But even the most successful daily uploads that I do, which tends to be Gran Turismo related breaking news, those are the best videos that I make in terms of new traffic and high views, even then, they get like 20, 30,000 views. That's still a third to a half of the channel's size. That's pathetic. That really is pathetic. Now, it's not pathetic across the channel, but for that specific video, it should be doing a lot better than that. Now, there are a number of factors which are legitimate. For instance, not that many people like the video. Not that many people comment on my videos, and even fewer people have the notification bell turned on. In fact, according to my analytics, only 10% of the entire subscriber count actually has the notification bell turned on. And what that means is, out of 62,000 people, 6,000 actually see my video. At best. So of course the views aren't going to be great. The problem is, YouTube, and I asked them this, YouTube will not retroactively turn on notifications for my existing subscribers. They refused to do that, point blank. So in other words, the people who decided to subscribe and not turn on the bell, not necessarily because they didn't want to, but a lot of people just don't even know why it's important or don't even know what it is, especially older viewers, well, that means they are never going to see my content because they've never had the bell turned on. So without having the bell turned on, they're not going to see the new videos where I ask them to turn it on. It's just this never-ending loop of utter ridiculous failure. Now again, I wasn't too bothered by this a few months ago because the average views are still good. But it gets kind of tedious when you put so much effort, especially in the case of my real-world reviews. I drive sometimes hundreds of miles and pay out sometimes hundreds of pounds in fuel to review these cars. Of course, I don't get paid by the manufacturers or by the dealerships to do these cars. It's free advertising. I don't charge those dealerships anything either. I probably could with some of them, but I don't even ask. But I lose money on every single car review I make, and it's a significant amount of money that I lose because they just don't bring that money back in. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to stop doing that because I love doing those car reviews, and real cars have always been one of the ultimate goals that I've had on this channel, and I've already achieved that goal, so I'm really happy about that. But that brings me back to the thing that started this whole discussion and this thought thread. See, I did a little bit of research on Google, and I found out about something which many of you probably haven't even heard of. In fact, something which is so secretive apparently that even the Google help representative who I contacted needed to research it himself because he hadn't heard of it either, or so he said. And that is something called a P-score. This is something which YouTube does not talk about, but it is something which is very real, and it was exposed last year by some YouTubers. They found that in the coding of certain pages, coding which of course you can bring up at the side of the screen when you're watching a video, that coding had a little line in there called something about a P-score. And they noticed that different channels had different P-scores. And ultimately, when YouTube was pressed about this issue by large channels, the channels who discovered it, and especially once news sources started publishing articles about this, and if you just Google the YouTube P-score, you can read up about this, they basically discovered that channels are being given a secret rank. And this rank basically decides arbitrarily whether or not that channel is going to be exposed more or less and given better or worse, more or fewer ads. And according to YouTube, there are a number of factors why. It's got to be a fun video, it's got to be family friendly, it's got to be all of this BS that they come out with. Is that true? Technically, yes. But I asked them, and in fact I pressed them on this issue to give me an answer. What is my channel's P-score? And also, does it still exist? Because that P-score was later, as far as I recall, removed from the coding of the page, even though it likely still exists. Now, the reason why this P-score is disturbing goes way beyond the fact that it exists. It's that YouTube and Google by extension have a ranking system. And it doesn't matter if that ranking system is done by a robot or a person. That ranking system defines what your career is going to be capable of on YouTube. And they do not even acknowledge that it exists. They refuse to tell you what your score is, or even if you have one. And that, at best, is dubious. What's even more dubious is the fact that the top 10 channels on YouTube with the highest P scores are not the channels that you would think. Rhett and Link are not in the top 10. Smosh is not in the top 10. PewDiePie is not in the top 10. Do you know who is? Number 10 is Will Smith. Number 8, I believe it was Linus Tech Tips. Number 9, if I recall correctly, was something like BBC News. And the top 5 or 6 places are completely dominated by late night shows. Colbert, Fallon, whatever other idiot has a show this week. Now, the reason why they're so high is on the one hand understandable. Of course, they're joining the platform with an existing, established name, they have big networks behind them, a proven track record of success, and of course, for the most part, they're known for being family friendly. So on the one hand, I get why YouTube would want to promote them. The problem is, those scores are not being divulged to any creators. This was not announced by YouTube or even confirmed, it was leaked. So in effect, if you are any kind of creator on this platform, from as far as I can tell, a tiny channel to the top, you are being ranked, and you're not being told, in fact, you won't even be allowed to be told what you are ranked as. Now, I can't be the only one who finds that very disturbing as a business practice, but that is what YouTube is doing right now. And when I, as I said, pressed them on this issue, and of course I have evidence of all of this, in fact I recorded the entire 52-minute live chat that I had with one of their representatives on YouTube Creator Support, and of course I still have all of the emails, most of which are mind-numbingly stupid, which they, tried to skirt around the issue. They did not tell me what my score is, they would not even confirm that the P-score exists, they all act as if they've never heard of it. It's very, very dubious. In fact, this is some Alex Jones level stuff, and it's disappointing to me. I explained to these people who I spoke to, various different helpers, that I actually love working on YouTube. I love trying to build a business on here, and I've enjoyed my time here so far. But I'm not going to be putting insane amounts of effort, money, and time into a platform which is quite literally working against me. There is no way that you can tell me that 500 people out of 60,000 are interested in an Aston Martin Vanquish, on the road, real car review. That's BS. I don't believe you. I don't care what the numbers say. Numbers can be wrong. I mean, YouTube has proven over and over again that the machine doesn't work. It promoted channels that had terrorist content. They had the adpocalypse. YouTube has always been a slave to the advertisers, and this is just more evidence of that. Because if you think about it, it actually led me to a somewhat disturbing, very disturbing, in fact, conclusion. A very disturbing conclusion about YouTube as a platform. Now, this is based on circumstantial thought, so you could choose not to believe what I'm about to say, but I believe that the logic pretty clearly supports me here. On YouTube as a platform, regardless of the type of channel you are, it is in YouTube's best interests for your channel to fail. And here's why. Unless you are a top 5% creator, you are never going to bring in the viewership and the ad revenue for YouTube and the exposure that the brands who are advertising want as a top 1% channel will. My most successful single video ever has less views than PewDiePie talking about whiskey. So why on earth would YouTube ever need to promote me? Why would they even care if my subscribers are seeing my videos? Because if you think of it this way, every minute that somebody spends watching a smaller channel is taking away from that minute that they could be watching a top 1% channel, getting more ads, better ads, and feeding into the existing algorithm, which already benefits the top 1% cream of the cream. So in other words, you as a small creator and I as a small creator are quite literally in the way. We are not beneficial to the platform. We do nothing but drag down views and content and watch time from the best of the best. So of course, why would YouTube even care if we fail? I guarantee that the income of 1,000 smaller channels combined probably still doesn't match one late night show. So why would YouTube put in that kind of time and effort when it's quite literally not worth the money? And this brings me to the issue. YouTube used to be a platform which had an authenticity. These days, Charlie Bit My Finger would not have the success that it had back then. It's too short, it's violent, it's not family friendly, there's no opening intro, there's no begging for likes and comments and subscriptions, there's no closing card, it doesn't recommend cool other videos. It would fail. Gangnam Style doesn't exactly ask you for likes and comments and that, and it's not even in English. YouTube is changing. It has been changing and it will continue to. And it's becoming more and more corporate. It's swinging more toward existing TV programs and celebrities. It annoys me to no end how celebrities can just plug into the platform and be immediately spoon-fed all the success they could want. And of course, a lot of that comes from the fact that they're a known name, but don't tell me that that just happens to be the case, because it doesn't. You do not grow that quickly without being discovered. And you don't get discovered without the algorithm helping you. So, in my opinion, YouTube is becoming more and more, quite literally, a waste of my time. So, in short, I'm not shutting down the channel, but I am changing the schedule. So, in effect, what I'm going to be doing is streamlining my content. I'm not going to only be doing content that gets, the best views, top 10s and tips and money methods. Of course not. I still want to produce content that I enjoy, that you enjoy, and that is authentic to what the channel is becoming and has always been. But it's the excess that doesn't succeed anywhere near what it should be, which I'm going to be trimming away. And what that involves is basically stuff like the older Forza reviews, Test Drive Unlimited reviews, sometimes even Project Cars reviews. Now, Project Cars ones do pretty well. But basically, I'm going to be culling, for the moment, any video that doesn't bring in views that justify the time that went into making the video in the first place. So the way the schedule is going to look will be a lot more loose, and it's going to be like the building blocks of the channel, as it were. So stuff like this podcast. Real car reviews are going to continue at a relatively open rate, because obviously I can't always guarantee when a new review will come out. Stuff like Gran Turismo 7 news, of course, will still be on the channel. Breaking automotive news might still drop as well at random times. And of course, when Gran Turismo 7 comes out, chances are I will do quite a bit of content for that. It's the basically older generation stuff which is simply going to have to go away. So there's probably going to be a lot less Gran Turismo 2, Forza 1, 2, 3, 4, Test Drive Unlimited 1 and 2. Basically getting rid of that stuff that gets 3, 4, 500 views. There's probably not going to be very much motorcycle content, apart from the occasional real motorcycle review. I'm supposed to be doing one of those within the next couple of months, ideally, but I think you get the idea. Now, one of the things that people probably dislike is that, for the moment, the photo mode competition is completely going away. And the reason why is actually very simple. You can get angry at me if you want to. I know a lot of people are disappointed about that. The reason why it's going away is because not enough people enjoy it. It gets 300, 400 views. That's just not acceptable. That is literally not worth the time of making the video. 300 or 400 people from a 60k channel is absolutely ridiculous. And even the livery competition does barely better. In fact, last week is the worst it's done in quite some time. And I don't think that that's a coincidence. Because YouTube tried to pawn me off by saying, oh, your views are actually still, just ebbing and flowing as they should be. Bull. No, they're not. I know my channel. I know the feel of the numbers that I should be getting, and they are not what they were. And there's no excuse for that. More people are at home than ever before. So, no, you're not going to tell me that that's normal on the channel. So, in other words, I'm going to be pursuing other things as well as YouTube. I don't plan on ending the channel, much to the chagrin of my haters, no doubt. But the channel is going to look a little bit different in terms of uploads. You're still going to have the core of what made the channel what it was. GT7, the podcast, breaking news, real car reviews, occasional real motorcycles. It's more the smaller stuff that's going to go away. Because as I said, it simply isn't worth the time that it takes to make it. In fact, a lot of these videos lose money instead of making them, if you calculate the time that goes in compared to the money and time and enjoyment of viewers that comes out. Because 200 or 300 people is simply unacceptable for a channel of this size. Now, overall, I know a lot of you aren't going to like that, but I'd like to think that the majority of you will understand, based on what I've already said, why I've made this decision. Now, the decision, of course, is always subject to change. I hope that it does change. But for the moment, I'm not working in a system and pouring hours and hours of my time into a rigged system, because that's exactly what it is. The P-score clearly shows that it is a rigged system, and I don't care if humans decide what the score is. I don't care if a robot decides. I don't care if an algorithm decides. It doesn't matter. If you took a gun and shot someone in the head with it, but then you put the gun in the hand of a robot and program the robot to do it, that doesn't make you innocent, just because a robot pulled the trigger. So saying that, oh, it's an algorithm, we don't decide who gets the score, BS. That is utter BS. YouTube made the algorithm. So assigning some robot to do your dirty work for you doesn't make it any better. And I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it. I'm sick of putting all of this effort into a platform that does not value smaller creators in the slightest. They don't even notice you until you've got 6-figure subscribers, and even then, good luck, because so do plenty of other people. So ultimately, that's the reason why things are going to look different. That's why things have looked different over the past few days as well. I'm not going to, commit to like a set schedule at the moment, because things may drop on different days. But yeah, I'm not enjoying YouTube at the moment at all, to be honest, and it's been a while since I have. And yeah, I think most of you will understand that. But for those of you who don't, well, I've said everything that I can say in this video to inform you why. So if you still don't get it, then I can't help you. But overall, that's it for my thoughts. Of course, thanks to those of you who decide to still stick around on the channel and do enjoy the content. And of course, I'll see you next time with something else. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.